Hey, SpeakEasy Podcast listeners. This is your host, Altovise, your voice manager. I unmute the voice of women who are ready to speak up about what has kept her silent for way too long. This episode is going to be one that's near and dear to my heart because I have been that entrepreneur that did not read the small print. Let's just be honest. How many of you read the full contract when you sign it? Or how many of you really dive into, the full agreement, the ins, the outs, the good, the bad, the ugly? Most times the excitement of the contract kind of overwhelms us. And I'm excited about the conversation we're going to have today because when we think about success mindset, ooh, are you reading the fine print? With that being said, I have my guest today. Hello, Joe. How are you?
I'm great, Altovise. Thank you. You have so much positive energy. I needed that on a Monday morning.
Yes, it's exciting. We need it because guess what? This is not always going to be an exciting topic. But before we dive into today's topic, Joe, let the studio audience know a little bit about you.
Well, I'm an entrepreneur that just happens to have a CPA license. I got into accounting over 35 years ago because I wanted to learn about business. And 35 years later, I'm still doing accounting work. But I'm still an entrepreneur. I love entrepreneurs. I work specifically with brand new business owners. So when you talked about, reading the fine print, I get that. I get that because the fine print a lot of times is what gets us in trouble.
Ooh-wee. And so just a little backstory, Speakeasy Podcast listeners, as you're listening to this, what sparked this conversation was that right now, a lot of people are kind of up in arms, so to speak, about the whole PPP loan. Was it a loan? Was it a grant? And so unfortunately, a lot of business owners are dealing with some heavy things right now, including some interest rates that are not the greatest. So, with that being said, when we think about the success mindset and reading the small print, Joe, what would you say is a way that they can kind of get into a habit of really diving into, okay, what am I signing up for?
Well, I think because I focus on brand new businesses. I started doing that about 2 years ago because I found a need. There's over 25 million sole proprietors out there, and that's the worst way to do business. That's for starters. There's 30 million businesses in the United States, and 25 million are organized in the worst way possible. They are at a distinct disadvantage. So, when you say the fine print, I believe that when people go into business, they better understand what they're getting into. Forget about the contracts and all the work. When you go into business, you're signing up for something. And I'll tell you, if you want to look at the fine print of your tax return, okay, under your signature, it says, under penalties of perjury, I attest to the fact that all the information on this return is accurate. Okay. People sign their tax returns without even knowing what the heck is in them. And they don't even know how their accountant came up with the numbers. And that to me is the first thing that new business owners need to understand. They need to understand that they're in business. And once you go into business, Altovise, you're under the direct jurisdiction of the state, local, and federal governments. They want you to keep books and records.
Okay, wait, you just sunk my battleship. When we think about business, I never even fathomed thinking about when I sign my taxes, what that really means. And
Can I give you an example?
whoo, yes, please.
I just closed the weirdest tax audit case that I've ever come across, and I've done hundreds of these. I got a client. She took over her husband's business. It was a trucking business. In 2017, they lost everything. Basically, she ran, I don't know if it was her or whatever the circumstances, but they went out of business. She had, I, I don't know how her accountant prepared her return, but they didn't do accounting. They just threw numbers around. and and she got her audited. And long story short, the IRS disallowed over $500,000 worth of expenses and hit her with a $250,000 tax bill, including $50,000 in penalties. We got it removed. We reversed the whole thing. When I explained to the IRS, I said, this wasn't my client. This was the accountant. You should be going after the accountant because look at how she did the return. She didn't even do accounting work. You know what the IRS said to me?
I'm scared to ask.
They said when a taxpayer signs a return, they're taking responsibility. They don't care about what the accountant did.
Wow.
And people don't understand. They think that, oh, I'll blame it on the accountant. No, that don't work. It's like you got to take your head out of the sand and know what you're getting into. Yeah, you're signing a contract, Altovise. Every time you sign a tax return, you're putting yourself on the line. And you have to have at least some kind of understanding how that works. You know, when you talk to successful entrepreneurs, they tell you one thing, they know their numbers. Okay, they know the numbers. When it comes to contracts and stuff, I could read all the fine print I want, but I need a lawyer sometimes to extrapolate that for me. You know, I think, you know, reading the fine print is important, but, you know, you got to know what you're dealing with. And being in business is no easy thing, and it's serious, even if it's a small business.
That's valuable. Speakeasy Podcast listeners, I hope you're listening in and taking note, because when we start a business, we start a business because we have an idea, because we have a dream, because we have something that we want to shift and change in the world or within our life, within our finances, whatever that may be. And so one of the things that happens is that we don't know everything that comes with being in business. And unfortunately, so many times we come into it and we won't ask the right questions, or we don't know the right questions to ask. So we're kind of just, you know, they call it bootstrapping, they call it, you know.
I love what you just said. I started a whole campaign on Did You Know? And it came from working with my team, with my advisors. And I came to the conclusion that most business people don't even know what questions to ask.
They don't. And I know, honestly, I spent thousands and thousands of dollars on business coaching and life coaching and, you know, all of these amazing things, and to speak on stages and all these things that we thought, you know, were a part of the business. And the reality is that no, we ended up we ended up putting out more money than what we were bringing in. So I didn't have a business, not a successful one. And the real business structure of it was never even discussed.
And that's what we do. That's what we do. We, you know, the name of my business is Bedrock-Business-Builders because we provide a firm foundation. And can we talk a little bit about what you brought up, the PPP loans and all the chaos
Most definitely.
going on with that? You know, when this started last year, I was on Facebook doing lives explaining to people, don't rush into anything because the government doesn't even know what the rules are. They're making them up as they go along, right?
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things when you're in business, you know, it's not if something's going to happen, it's when. Okay.
Indeed. Come
You
on
know,
now.
if you think you're going to go in through life or business and nothing bad is ever going to happen, you're not going to hit some trials and tribulations. You should, if that's what you're thinking, don't go into business because it's not going to be easy. So when you're on a firm foundation, when you know your numbers, okay, you're in a better position to make a decision when that stuff happens. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So like even now with the PPP loans, it's total chaos. They're like, oh, here's the money. Oh no, there's no money left. Oh, you can apply, but you can't apply. It's frustrating to say the least. I got people that qualified, they were approved, and they go online to get the money, and it's like being processed, being processed. It's like watching paint dry, you know?
That was interesting too. And a lot of people, unfortunately, were out and giving false information. And they were saying, oh no, you can just tell them this, you can just tell them that. And I was like, I don't think that's how that works.
And then 2 years from now, you'll see a bunch of people in handcuffs because that's how
Exactly.
this works. That's how this
That's
works.
exactly how this works. We have heard all of the stories. You see all of the memes across social media of the PPP jail because people have done, they've gone and applied for these loans that, for one, they applied improperly and gave false information. And I mean, it's just craziness. It's craziness. And, another part of knowing and reading the fine print is really being clear about what it is that you're trying to do with your business.
I'm so glad you said that. Isn't that part of the problem? It's like, one of my friends is a relationship coach, and we go back and forth, and I'm like, what does she say? You got to know what women want. And I asked her, I said, do women know what they want? And she said, not always. So it's the same thing with business. It's the same thing with everything. Sometimes we don't even know what we want. Sometimes you think you just want to make money, and that's the worst way to go into business. Money is a result. So, if you can be clear about your intention, and that is not an easy thing to do. Okay, you got to wipe away all of your false beliefs and why you do things. And if you can get down to the core essence of what you want to accomplish, it makes it a million times easier. That's what happened with me 2 years ago. I realized I was working with large companies, trucking companies, construction companies, tough guys. I was in a what would you call it? Unhealthy environment. The people I was dealing with were always, they were tough. And I realized, I said, I like working with new business owners so much more. They don't pay as much, so I'll just need to get a lot more of them.
Right? There's always going to be a trade-off.
Yeah, so we created this $47 a month CFO package specifically for new business owners that usually can't afford to hire an accountant, and it's taken off like wildfire.
Oh, that sounds perfect. And I think that's one of the things too, is that people feel as though, first of all, they didn't realize they needed an accountant. Because I still say CPA and people are like, what's that? And I'm like, oh, and you've been in business for how long?
Wow.
Okay, I need you to at least know, even if you don't have one, I need you to know what it is.
Well, also they say I'll get one when I start making money.
Yes, that is the other thing. Yes.
And a lot of times they don't make money because they don't have one. So it's,
or they make money and don't know how to keep it.
yeah, so it's been, one of my advisors, he has this thing, it's called the pyramid of awareness. And if you've been in business like you have, you're at the top of the pyramid. I don't have to tell you that you need an accountant. But brand new business owners are at the bottom. They don't know anything. They don't even know that they need a bank account a lot of times, because they're starting out with a personal account and they're commingling stuff. So we put out, all we do now is we try to educate the public. That's one of the reasons why I asked to go on podcasts like this, to let people know that no matter how small you are, you're still a business and you still got to keep records. And what happens if you actually start making money?
Right. Now you got to go back. Now you got to backpedal.
Right. We try to give people a foundation from the start when it's easy. When you got to start backpedaling, it's a lot harder.
Whew. SpeakEasy Podcast listeners, this has been an amazing episode. I hope you guys took note, but not just that. I want you guys to reach out and talk to Joe, even if it's just to understand what it is a CPA can do and does do for your business. And also that $47 program, guys, that is a very small investment in what you could have, getting some sustainability for your business, getting that clear foundation. So Joe, let them know how they can reach out to you. Also, if you have a link for the $47 program as well, give them that as well.
Actually, so the best way, if you just want to chat with me, I love talking about business. If you have a tax issue, or like Altovise said, I can explain to you exactly what we do. We don't just do bookkeeping and accounting. It's about, being successful in business. You can go to timewithjoe.com and book a chat with me. Or you can go to my website, which we're constantly updating, bedrock-business-builders.com. But it's easier if you just book a chat with me, timewithjoe.com.
That's it, guys.
I also, if I can add this.
Oh, sure.
We have a great free mastermind group. It's Mastermind with Joe DiChiara. We meet twice a week. It's open to everybody.
Oh, that's epic. Guys.
Yeah, you should come, Altovise. We play Jeopardy. We play games. We network. We support each other. It's really great.
I'm definitely going to have to come over and join that one because I come across so many business owners, and again, they do not understand the impact that having a CPA can have, or just having one that you can reach out to, because it starts with being comfortable enough to reach out to somebody and say, hey, I'm drowning, I need help. And we all know that in business, it is very easy to fall into that pit of despair because of how things change so drastically in such a short amount of time. You never know what's going to be occurring. But again, having a sound and solid foundation will always be valuable for you. It will always be valuable for you. SpeakEasy Podcast listeners, listen, this is all for you, because without the SpeakEasy Podcast listeners, there would be no SpeakEasy Podcast. None at all. So let us know how this episode resonates with you. Leave us a review on your favorite podcasting platform. Share it out. Go and connect with Joe so that way you can get the information and insight that you need. This is your host, Altovise Pelzer, your voice manager, and I am looking forward to seeing you on the next episode of the #SpeakEasy Podcast. Until next time, guys, don't forget to press it out. See ya.